insecurity and corruption, President Buhari insists cashless policy, Naira redesign will yield positive results.
Please, we ease the suffering and the stress of Nigerians.
The 200 Naira is not even much available like the higher notes.
I have met with about 15 banks this morning. Later, and we've given them directives about how they should make all the old 200 Naira notes available.
Reactions trail President Buhari's order to extend validity of old 200 Naira notes as stakeholders call for calm. Plus, court remands suspected killers of the Fatinois. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on NTA Network News. I'm Cyril Stover in Abuja. Hingino John Adams joins us from Lagos. And you can follow this news live on our website, nta.ng/live, NTA Newsroom Now, and other social media platforms displayed on the screen for updates. Deliberate policies that will have direct bearing on women and girls is the way to go in addressing the number of out-of-school children as well as lifting women out of poverty in Nigeria. This is a recent step taken by the federal government as it launches high-level advisory council at the State House. Mamso Damian Dati reports.
The State House banquet hall is agog with members of the National Executive Council, governors, members of the diplomatic corps, traditional rulers, and other dignitaries. The Federal Ministry of Women Affairs is launching 4 mega projects: a high-level advisory council on Nigeria's support to women and girls, national We policy dialogue, adolescent girls initiatives for learning and empowerment, Agile, as well as the Nigerian for Women Scale-Up.
No woman, no Niger. Yay!
The arrival of President Muhammadu Buhari sets the ball rolling.
This event marks another high point in our commitment to enhancing social inclusion and reducing poverty enshrined in our government's policy. The well-being of women and girls remain a pivotal indicator of how well any nation is doing in driving her developmental plans. I'm proud of the tremendous progress that has been made to emphasize the needs of Nigerian women and girls into national economic planning policy.
The federal government of Nigeria, through the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, has worked out a collaborative program with stakeholders to raise national consciousness of the urgent need to address gender-based violence, its root causes, and other inequalities. The presidential inauguration is the ultimate evidence of His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari's commitment to the empowerment of women and girls in Nigeria.
Reports from the Ministries of Education and Finance show efforts to better the lot of women and girls.
These projects will increase gender sensitivity of all stakeholders and equip them with strategic skills to drive these initiatives down to the community levels for full participation and sustainability.
So on behalf of the Governors Forum, we are also here to register our support to you.
With this development, millions of beneficiaries will be reached through a multi-sectoral approach comprising public and private sectors. In Abuja, Mamso Damian Dati, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has ordered the extension of the validity of old 200 Naira notes by 60 days. The president made the disclosure on Thursday while addressing Nigerians in a nationwide broadcast on the recent implementation of the redesigned Naira policy, which has led to the scarcity of the notes.
During the extended phase of the deadline for currency swap, I listened to invaluable pieces of advice from well-meaning citizens and institutions across the nation. I similarly consulted widely with representatives of the state governors as well as the Council of State. Above all, as an administration that respects the rule of law, I have also noted that the subject matter is before the courts of our land and some pronouncements have been made. To further ease the supply pressures, particularly to our citizens, I have given approval to the CBN that the old 200 naira banknote be released back into circulation, and that it should also be allowed to circulate as legal tender with the new 200 naira, 500 naira, and 1,000 naira banknotes for 60 days from February 10th, 2023 to April 10th, 2023, when the old 200 naira note ceases to be legal tender.
Well, the president insists that the cashless policy and naira swap by the central bank have short and long-term benefits for the country in dealing with insecurity and corruption, but agrees that the Apex Bank should take the recommendation of a parliamentary committee to rectify identified problems. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
The president's comments came as the central bank governor, Godwin Emefiele, gave him an assurance that the 200 naira old notes taken out of circulation will be moved back into the economy. President Muhammadu Buhari, when he received the House of Representatives ad hoc committee on cashless policy and naira swap, said his earlier speech was comprehensive enough and was adequate as a response to the general outcry about the problems associated with the currency exchange. He described the aim of the policy as very good, as seen from the lessening of kidnappings and associated corrupt practices. He again accused banks of being a problem. Leader of the parliamentary delegation, Alhassan Doguwa, House Majority Leader and Chairman of the ad hoc committee, said the meeting with the president was necessitated by the need to bring him up to date on the problems of implementation and unintended consequences of the new cash policy. The House leader said the legislature and the government were on the same page insofar as the goals of the policy were concerned. He added, however, that more needed to be done to remove the hardship and inconveniences that have attended its implementation. CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele reported that he had met 15 top banks in an effort to resolve prevailing problems, assuring that the nation is at the end of the problem. He also gave the promise that by the end of February, CBN will bring into circulation between 700 to 800 billion naira, in excess of what is needed to run the economy. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
In the meantime, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, has formally reacted to the presidential broadcast on the currency swap policy, assuring Nigerians that adequate steps have already been taken towards making the old 200 naira and all new banknotes more available and accessible to those in need across the country. Mr. Emefiele stated this while speaking to a State House correspondent, Adamu Sambu, on the new directives issued by President Buhari to the Apex Bank.
The President has given his directives. I have met with about 15 banks this morning, later, and we've given them directives about how they should make all the old 200 naira notes available, effective today. And I can assure Nigerians that this will help to reduce the pains. We meet with the bankers at least once daily to get feedback and the rest of them. And I think the President has sealed the whole of the issues this morning in his broadcast. And I think I can only just appeal to Nigerians, let's allow this policy to work. This policy is one policy that goes to solve the problem of reducing corruption and illicit financial flows. This policy goes to resolve some of the problems in the economy. This policy also goes to reducing the level of insecurity in the country. So these three issues, which are the tripod of this administration's policy, are all embedded in this policy. We should just allow it to work. We keep saying this. There are some temporary pains, but I can assure Nigerians that the long-run benefit to Nigeria is overwhelming, and we should just give it a chance to work.
Well, Nigerians have been reacting to the announcement by the President that he has given the Central Bank of Nigeria the approval for the old 200 naira notes to remain legal tender for 60 days up till April 10, 2023. Bosede Abel, who has been following the Naira redesign policy, brings an update on this latest development.
The retrieval of old Naira banknotes and scarcity of the new redesigned note brought tension and pressure on citizens and financial institutions. From long queues at ATM terminals, frustrations leading to violence and difficulties in business transactions, these began to take a toll on the economy. However, President Muhammadu Buhari, in a broadcast, disclosed that the 200 naira old note would be released into circulation as legal tender to further ease the supply pressure and particularly calm nerves among citizens.
It's a bit favorable to Nigerians. At least we ease the suffering and the stress of Nigerians, so we plus him for this.
At least with their money now, people will not complain much.
With the fact that you can actually spend the 200 naira.
At least it will give an ease, but the only issue I see there is the 200 naira is not even much available like the higher notes.
Some deposit money banks confirm that most of the old notes have already been taken to CBN, but await directive for the next line of action. So far, the cashless policy program has helped with the retrieval of about 2.1 trillion naira, representing about 80% out of the 3.23 trillion naira in circulation.
A cashless system where people and obviously that was actually what was being canvassed for many years now, so that we can just be cashless. This has actually improved the cashless system.
With the president's intervention, Nigerians are optimistic that businesses will begin to pick up and the pressure on the economy will reduce to the barest minimum. In Abuja, Bosede Abel, NTA News.
And Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, wants the federal government to obey the order of the Supreme Court on the issue of the currency swap. Gbajabiamila, in a statement, said the directive of President Buhari reintroducing the old 200 naira note as a legal tender was a step in the right direction, but that the federal government ought to have gone a step further by adhering to the court order pending the adjudication of the substantive suit. The Speaker urged Nigerians to bear this moment with equanimity and work together to resist actions that escalate tensions and endanger democracy. Gbajabiamila was of the view that the implementation of the cashless policy by the CBN was flawed, as the Apex Bank did not sufficiently replace the old currency it pulled out of circulation, thus creating an artificial scarcity that put additional pressure on the already epileptic electronic banking channels. This, he added, has resulted in a near-complete collapse of trade in the country. We'll take a break at this point. There'll be more. Thanks for staying with us, and more on the Naira squeeze. The presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, has urged Nigerians to be patient and calm as the federal government works out an enduring solution to the scarcity caused by the Naira redesign policy. In a message, Tinubu sympathized with Nigerians over the inconveniences the cash swap has caused, saying the phase would soon be a thing of the past, particularly with the Supreme Court having intervened in the matter. Now let's go over to Benny Adams for business news.
Thank you and welcome to business. Recently, Nigeria suffered a loss estimated at $700 million over rejected agro-produce in Europe. While low quality has been fingered, recent revelation as improper documentation as also responsible.
Most of the issues of rejection of Nigerian products is because of just mere documentation. Exporters are not patient enough to follow the various documentation set up by the foreign regulatory agencies. That's just one of the key things we discover. Non-documentation or inaccurate documentation. In some instances, some of the products there are actually banned. And if the product is banned there, if you take the product, there's nothing anybody can do about it. I mean, they have to reject the product, they have to return the product. And in few instances, there are issues of aflatoxin or pesticide presence in some of our products. And so, they have to reject such products because of food health concerns.
And numbers released by the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System, NIBBS, revealed that the month of January 2023 recorded the highest number of mobile money transactions since its inception at 108 million. This is coming on the back of the CBN's stance on its cashless policy. The peak is also a ripple effect of the Naira redesign that has steered more Nigerians to using alternative mode for transactions. The NIBBS figures show that a total of 108.135 million transfers were made in the month of January, while the value of mobile transactions in September 2022 stood at 2.37 trillion naira. I'll take a look at market. The stock market moves further high by 0.03% as investors gain 8 billion naira. At the end of today's trading, a total of 125.8 million shares in 2,670 deals, corresponding to a market value of 3.6 billion naira, were traded. Compared with the previous trading day, Wednesday, today's data shows 6% decline in volume, 17% decline in turnover, and 8% decline in deals. The current market capitalization is 29.7 trillion naira. Guarantee Trust Holding recorded the highest volume of 19.2 million traded shares, followed by United Bank for Africa and Zenith Bank. Well, that is Business News. Network News continues.
Thank you, Benny. The federal government and the government of the United States of America have signed the Asset Return Agreement on the repatriation of assets recovered from former Governor of Bayelsa State, late Repatriation. The exchange of the agreement on the return of looted assets to Nigeria has been completed by both countries. Dele Atumbi reports.
Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, SAN, signed the repatriation agreement on behalf of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, while the U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria, Mary Beth Leonard, signed on behalf of our government. The asset return agreement followed the forfeiture proceedings against certain real property and investment funds in Maryland and other locations within the jurisdiction of the U.S. government. Asset return arose from the forfeiture and recovery of approximately $1 million linked to the corrupt practices of the former governor, Repatriation. Following the court order, both countries negotiated and finalized the terms of the asset return agreement.
I wish to state that we are critically in need of these funds to support the implementation of several other critical projects for the benefit of Nigeria and our citizens.
The United States will continue to do its part to deny safe haven to corrupt actors and the assets they have illicitly acquired, whether from here in Nigeria or other parts of the world. As the first country to criminalize foreign bribery, we take our role as a standard bearer seriously and will continue to strive to increase accountability and transparency.
Consequently, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved that the returned asset be used for a Earth Center project for the benefit of the people of Bayelsa State. The U.S. government has in recent past returned some of the looted funds tagged as Abacha loot to the Nigerian government. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
And towards having an illicit arms-free society for the conduct of peaceful general elections, The Nigeria Police Force has handed over recovered firearms and ammunition to the Office of the National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons in the Office of the National Security Advisor. Francis Form reports.
This significant progress has been made.
The Nigeria Police Force has attributed the increasing violent crimes across the country to the activities of criminal elements engaging in armed banditry, secessionist movement, armed robbery, kidnapping, communal and farmers and herders conflicts. This, the police said, is the reason for the proliferation of small arms and light weapons in the country. And the Nigeria Police Force, being the lead agency in internal security management, has been mopping up these weapons from the hands of the criminal elements, posing security threats to the peaceful existence of the nation.
The Nigeria Police Force will continue to partner with the National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons as we both strive to achieve our constituted mandate.
And the National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons is at the Louis Edet House to receive this cache of firearms and ammunition recovered from the criminal elements.
For those that will add value to your operational capability, to be handed over back to you so that you can use it to enhance your operational capability so that you can also, through that effort, retrieve more illicit weapons.
The coordinator of the center assures that appropriate litigation will be carried out on those that have been found to be associated with the importation and circulation of these illicit weapons in the country. Francis Form, NTA News.
The 7 suspects arrested in connection with the murder of a couple and their son in Abuja on New Year's Day have been remanded at the Ibarra Correctional Facility in Abuja following their arraignment in court by the Ogun State Police Command. Yemi Dalimo reports that the suspects were docked on an 11-count charge bordering on conspiracy, murder, felony and arson.
Suspects are Lekon Adekombi, Ahmed Odetola, Wahid Adeniyi, Temitope Fadairo, Adenike Adekombi, Anoluwapo Owolaja, and Aziz Usman. Prosecuting counsel Oluwatoyin Jackson, while praying the court to remand the suspects in custody, said their 11-count charge borders on conspiracy, murder, felony, arson, setting property ablaze, stealing, and escape from lawful authority. In our ruling, Chief Magistrate Esther Idowu ordered that the defendants be remanded in Oba Correctional Center, while the duo of Fadairo and Adenike Adekombi are to be remanded in Ibarra Correctional Center for 60 days, pending legal advice from the Office of the State Director of Public Prosecution, and adjourn the case till 17th of April for mentioning. Police says that the defendants conspire among themselves and killed Mr. Kehinde Fatinoye, his wife Bukola, and their only surviving child Oreoluwa, whom they threw into Ogun River alongside an adopted son who swam out of the river. The suspects, who forced the deceased to transfer over 1 million naira into a bank account before killing them, also stole 6 phones valued at 1.5 million naira and 1 Hyundai car valued at 12 million naira, and later set the corpse of the couple and their home ablaze on January 1st, 2023 in Ibarra GRA area of Abeokuta, Ogun State. Yemi Dalimo, NTA News.
We go over to Hingino in our Lagos studio now for more reports. Hingino.
Thank you, Cyril. Pharmacy Council of Nigeria Tribunal sitting in Lagos has commenced trial of 10 cases of various professional misconduct brought by its investigative panel as part of efforts to rid the profession of unethical practice. Joel Popola reports that one pharmacist was reprimanded for breach of trust, while hearing on other cases have been adjourned till March 2023.
The PCN Establishment Act 2022 empowers the investigation panel and tribunal, presided by the chairman of the council, with power to sanction erring pharmacists who act in defiance of the ethics of the profession. The 10 cases slated for hearing covered infractions such as breach of trust, manufacturing of unwholesome drugs, misappropriation of funds, and other ethical misconduct. Counsel to one of the plaintiffs, Mr. Bright Ogbonna, appealed to the tribunal for adjournment to allow his client more time to access relevant documents for her defense. One of the pharmacists who appeared before the tribunal described the process as fair.
The charge here is bordering on, when companies give you products and you go about selling them, and in the course of, making the accounts, there are some discrepancies, or when the reconciliation is not balanced.
The chairman of the PCN, Professor Ahmed Tijani Mora, and members of the tribunal warned pharmacists that it will no longer be business as usual.
We've done a lot over the years in trying to sanitize the profession, as it were. Any pharmacist who has been registered and licensed by the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria is subject to be corrected, if I may put it that way, through the instrumentality of the disciplinary tribunal.
One pharmacist was reprimanded at the end of the day. The remaining cases were adjourned for definite trial.
More punitive measures and reforms will be carried out to repose public trust in pharmacists. In Lagos, Joel Bukbola, NTA News.
Talking electoral matters now, ahead of the February 25 presidential election, persons with disability are asking the Independent National Electoral Commission to shed more light on its inclusive plan at ensuring persons with disability exercise their franchise during the polls. This was at a one-day public presentation by Center for Citizens with Disability on pre-assessment survey report on INEC's preparedness and provisions for persons with disability in Lagos. Musa Toliat has details.
Disabled people don't need to go and lie with able people. It brings frustration.
For these persons with disability, there is still a lot to be worried about as Nigerians count days to the general elections.
The ad hoc staff don't really know how to handle PWDs.
We have always said it, that you cannot do something for us without us being part of the processes.
This gathering is therefore aimed at presenting the findings of Center for Citizens with Disability on the provisions made by the Independent National Electoral Commission to accommodate persons with disability during the polls.
Some of the recommendations also point to issues about challenges in voting, accessibility of the polling units, and I think it's important for INEC to work in this regards.
Organizers of the event say a good number of PWDs face series of challenges and their level of awareness on INEC's provisions for them is at the lowest ebb.
INEC preparation for people with disabilities remain weak, as many persons with disabilities do not know INEC provisions for them. If they plan to train their ad hoc staff on what to do about people with disabilities, because the training of the ad hoc staff have not taken place.
Consensus at the public presentation on election preparedness is that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, should carry out proper research and scale up a special arrangements for participation of people with disabilities in Lagos. Musa Toliat, NTA News.
Time now for a break, but before then, do not forget to follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other...
All right, we're starting off with some bit of politics now. With the Nigeria Police Force deploying more than 300,000 personnel to cover the general elections, Nigerians are being assured of adequate protection before, during and after the conduct of the 2023 polls. Inspector General of Police Osman Algali Baba, who said this at the State House executive briefing of the press, explained that the police are not unaware of the challenges threatening hitch-free conduct of the coming elections. The police and other security agencies, he says, are strategizing to counter the threats to the smooth conduct of all elections in the country. Identified possible challenges include the continuous and targeted attacks on INEC facilities, activities of terrorists, bandits and secessionists, those attempting to advance political interests through violation of the Electoral Act, hate speech and many other violations.
would intend to sustain the current relatively stable internal security order, particularly in troubled areas in the northeast, southeast, etc. 2, deepen intelligence activities to proactively respond to threats wherever it may occur. 3, continue to synergize with the military, the intelligence community, and all other security agencies towards presenting a common front in the election security governance plan. It is my belief and conviction that the Nigerian military, the Nigeria police, and all other security agencies will collectively collaborate, synergize, and cooperate in policing the 2023 general election in order to ensure that a free, fair, and credible election takes place in Nigeria.
State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports that the Inspector General of Police was guest at the 66th edition of the weekly press briefing organized by the Presidential Communications team. And the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, has assured the ruling All Progressives Congress that Yobe State will be counted among the states in the country with the highest number of votes for the party in the upcoming general election. Yunusa Ibrahim reports that this commitment came at a fundraising ceremony to mobilize resources for the smooth conduct of campaign activities of the party.
Our sons and daughters of Yobe State and their associates coming together to mobilize resources needed for the smooth operation of the APC campaign machinery to ensure victory of the party in the state.
Yobe is known to be a guaranteed vote basket for the APC. We can only do better. We want to compete with every state in this country as far as votes for APC is concerned. The present government of the APC, led by Honorable Mai Malabuni, has made tremendous and important contributions to the development of the state. It is therefore evident that every single kobo donated to the re-election of this government will be a donation made for the growth of Yobe State.
The Director General Yobe State APC Campaign Council, Senator Mohammed Hassan, announced that 2,200 million naira was so far realized, with the chip launcher Muhammad Awal Lawan, Aliko Dangote, Dahiru Mangal, and Abdul Samad Rabiu, among other friends of the state, topping the list of donors. In the Matru, Yunusa Suleiman, NTA News.
And the new Nigeria People's Party's presidential candidate, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, has assured the people of the Northeast and Nigeria that if elected, he would tackle the security challenges confronting the area and the country at large. Kwankwaso was speaking when he paid homage to the royal fathers of Borno, Yobe and Gombe. Muhammad Ali reports.
New Nigeria People's Party's presidential candidate Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso arrived in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, received by supporters and party loyalists. Kwankwaso then proceeded to Shehu Borno's palace, where he briefed the royal father on the plans he has for the country.
Our government, if elected, will enhance the security architecture and improve their welfare so as to adequately protect the integrity of this country.
If you have been given the mandate, we need roads infrastructure in Maiduguri.
In Damaturu, Yobe State, the presidential candidate intimated the Emir Alhaji Shehu Hashimi II, Ibn Umar Al-Amin El-Kanemi, on his plans to turn around the education system for better, as he did in Kano State, where every child is given equal opportunity. The emirs of Fika and Potiskum also received the presidential candidate in their palaces, where he assured the royal fathers of unbiased government if elected. While in Gombe, the presidential candidate Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso was at the palace of Abubakar Shehu Abubakar III, the emir of Gombe, promising to revitalize the economic fortunes of the state and address unemployment among youth. Kwankwaso then presented his blueprint to the Emir. Muhammad Ali, NTA News.
The African Action Congress, AAC, in alliance with the People's Redemption Party, PRP, have formed a formidable force to make the African Action Congress presidential candidate Omoyele Sowore the next president of Nigeria. Maria Mubala, who was at a town hall meeting organized by the two parties in Bauchi State, filed this report.
The alliance by the two parties, African Action Congress, AAC, and People's Redemption Party, PRP, is aimed at working as a team for the victory of AAC presidential candidate. AAC presidential candidate Omoyele Sowore and his running mate Haruna Magashi, while promising to prioritize the education sector, assures of judicious utilization of the oil discovered in some parts of the Northeast.
When we come inside, we will rededicate ourselves to finding where is the oil and how much is the oil before we start selling the oil.
National Chairman PRP, Abdulmajid Magaji Dauda, who is canvassing support for the AAC presidential candidate, is optimistic that the merger is for the good of the country. Other national and state officials of the two parties unanimously agree to work together. In Bauchi, Maria Mubala, NTA News.
The National Council for Women's Societies is suing for violence-free elections for the sake of national harmony and development. In an interview, the president, Hajia Lami Low, urged Nigerian women and youths to turn out in their numbers and vote for leaders who will not forget when they get into office.
As women, we are worst hit in times of violence. And as patriotic Nigerians, our collective goal should be a better Nigerian.
On the electoral umpire, she expressed optimism of a positive performance.
All our numbers and support every female candidate. Voting women into elective positions will greatly enhance the quality of lives of women in terms of healthcare, agriculture, business, and access to funds, grants, and loans.
We'll take another short break. The news continues shortly. President Muhammadu Buhari is in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, ahead of the 36th ordinary session of the Assembly of Heads of State of the African Union. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu reports that the president was received on arrival by a high-powered Ethiopian government delegation led by Ministers of Foreign Affairs and Transportation. The president is scheduled to participate in 3 high-level meetings on peace and security, climate change, and the political situation in some West African countries. The Nigerian leader will deliver remarks at these events, as well as present his national statement at the opening session of the summit, which brings together leaders from the AU member countries, as well as a number of non-AU countries and international institutions accredited to the AU in Addis Ababa. The theme of this year's AU summit is Acceleration of the African Continental Free Trade Area Implementation. First Lady of Nigeria, Aisha Buhari, felicitates with Mama Olubisi Osinbajo on the occasion of her 90th birthday. The First Lady described Mama Olubisi, the mother of the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, as a doting mother to all, a devout Christian and an exemplary community leader. While congratulating the Vice President on this important milestone of his mother, the First Lady prayed for God's continued grace, mercies and blessings on Mama Olubisi and her entire family and wishes her good health. Be good ambassadors of Nigeria and have faith that Nigeria will be great again. Now, these were the words of the Executive Secretary, Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission, Reverend Yakubu Pam, during the airlift of the 7th batch of Christian pilgrims to Israel and the Kingdom of Jordan. Omenka Marachuku reports that the over 300 pilgrims are drawn from Edo State, the FCT, and some self-sponsored individuals. While the spiritual exercise is scheduled to last for 9 days, the pilgrims are expected to visit holy sites in Israel and the Kingdom of Jordan, pray for peace and national coexistence of Nigerians.
We should all be praying for this country at this particular time. We believe in miracle. We believe that the general election will come and go, and God will provide leaders that will continue building the good work that is already on ground for uniting the country and also making sure that we boost the economy of this country and building a bilateral relationship with other countries.
The management of the National Assembly says the Parliament is not under any threat or siege by security operatives as being erroneously portrayed by those it called agents of fake news. This was in reaction to clips being circulated on the social media. National Assembly correspondent Dayo Ogunshola tells us more.
National Assembly, one of the third tiers and pillars of Nigeria's democracy, like any other individual or institution, recently became the target of fake news merchants, with a video clip being circulated to promote an atmosphere of threat for the management of the National Assembly. Despite the fact that members of National Assembly are on short break, the unsafe atmosphere being portrayed is far from the reality.
They were posting a recent event with an old gate, providentially, and the present gate, the old gate that was used in that clip, has been demolished, and the reconstruction is already at the completion stage. There you are, somebody reposting such a post. But that's on a very serious note, that news is fake, and it remains fake, and I will be happy that they unmarks those that are behind that series of reposts.
Apparently unaware of the physical development at the National Assembly, a visual that was taken about 5 years ago right here is being recirculated on social media to depict a national. Of course, a visit to this place has actually placed the visual into where it rightly belongs. From the National Assembly, Dayo Ogunshola, NTA.
Now for a bit on sports. I'm afraid we have a slight hitch with the sports report. Well, that concludes Network News tonight. Thank you for watching. But remember, the fight against rape is still on. Stand with the NTA. I'm Cyril Stober. Good night.